Right, hello. Welcome to another episode of Tamara Unfiltered. Today, I want to bring you a little story time. Um, I have old thoughts have been resurfacing lately. Thoughts that honestly I thought I dealt with, thoughts that I didn't think I gave a shit about anymore, but thoughts that have been disturbing me nonetheless. And I realized when I started filming season one of this podcast is actually really helping me. Talking is really helpful. Getting stuff off your chest is really helpful. And I'm sorry if you don't want to listen to it, but I'm just here. And I'm going to yap a little bit and I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you the story of how I actually came to Instagram because I told someone this story the other day and they were like, oh my God, you have to tell that on the podcast. So here I am because I do think actually talking about it might help just to release a little bit of the anger and whatever I still feel at this situation. Now, most of you know I am a single mum to 5 glorious children. Obviously, did not ever think I was going to be doing this on my own, but here we are. I had my first child, Rocco, who is now going to be 20 in a couple of weeks. And honestly, I was so on my own with him that I vowed I would never have any more children again. I didn't want to run the risk of doing it on my own again, leaving another child fatherless. I just thought, no, not doing that again. So as far as I was concerned, Rocco was going to be an only child. Then I met Amelia and Neo's dad. Now, I don't really want to get too much into how we met and how we know each other, but that will be for another day. Um, we were not together, but we were together. We were with each other a lot. And he always wanted to have children. I did not want to have any more children. And one day something happened. He ended up having to care for his dad. Now his dad had never been in his life, never raised him, and not really been a good dad, but he had ended up being the only person out of all the siblings who was caring for his father. Now I just started looking at him in a different light. I'm like, this is the sort of man you want to have children with. This is a reliable man. This is a good man. And I was like, you know what, fuck him. Let's have some kids. Anyway, so we got pregnant. And it was awful how it all happened. I found out I was pregnant about 2 days after his dad had died. And he just went, I can't deal with this. I don't want this. I got too much going on. And I obviously was like, fuck, what am I going to do? Am I really faced again with raising another child on my own again after I was so careful in my choosing? And yeah, turns out that's what I was about to be faced with. So we obviously weren't getting on. In hindsight, he was obviously in a very bad place, losing his father, obviously brought up a lot of other stuff, and he just was not okay. But when you're pregnant and on the other side of that, you don't really fucking care and you don't really see all of that. I was obviously a lot younger than I am now. Anyway, so we had Amelia and we were not together but together, not together but together. And we were more not together than together. In fact, we didn't even sleep with each other at this time. However, I can't remember. I must say my memory is quite patchy. And if my baby father or this whore is listening back to the story and you think some of the things are being told wrong, sad news for you because you don't have your own fucking podcast. But I am going to relay this best I remember it. So we weren't sleeping with each other. However, something happened. I think he got arrested for something. I don't remember what it was, but I do remember when we saw each other after that, there was very much of a sense of, oh my God, I'm so glad to see you. And we ended up having sex. Now, bear in mind, this is one sex, one time. And that one time, I got pregnant with Neo. Now, at this point, I was just like, fucking hell, I'm just raising all these babies alone, aren't I? I just knew I wasn't going to be able to have an abortion or anything like that. I don't think an abortion's an option when you have other children, is it? Like, you just, I don't know. Anyway, so I just was kind of like a bit defeated at that point. I knew I was going to probably be having my third child and raising it alone. So he was kind of living-ish in my house at the time. And I was doing very silly things that I would never do again. But at the time, I was doing things like giving him money to pay his phone bill or put credit on his phone. I don't think it was a bill. And money for him to get on the bus. And I had just got my first car. And he would take my car and I don't know, disappear in it for hours at a time. And this was getting worse and worse and worse until one night he never came back. I woke up, I remember it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, belling off his phone. Where the fuck are you? He's like, oh, I fell asleep at my friend's house. Bruv, no, you fucking didn't. We all know you didn't fall asleep at your friend's house. So that was kind of the beginning of me realizing something was wrong. Anyway, over that few months, there's a girl I know from Sutton, and what I thought was her kept driving past me in this fucking blue 4x4. Kept driving past me, and for whatever reason, every time I saw her, now bear in mind I know this girl, we're not friends, we're not enemies, we're just acquaintances, but every time I saw what I thought was this girl, I had this urge to just fucking just drag her out of her car and kill her, and I don't know why, but every time I saw her, I've just felt this insane rage, like I wanted to batter this woman. Obviously I didn't, but this just went on and on and on until I found out he was seeing this girl who I thought was in the car. But here's the crazy thing. The girl in the car wasn't the girl. It was just a girl who looked insanely like this girl. Anyway, so he has been going to this girl. I'm not going to say too much on this podcast, but we can imagine why a man might need to go and drop something to a girl's house, right? And sometimes those men, instead of just dropping off and getting their money, they want to sit down and they want to talk and this and that. So turns out he's been dropping stuff to this girl. And I don't know, I just had this feeling that something was going on. I almost knew something was going on, but I was pregnant at the time, and he just kept telling me I was crazy. You're crazy, it's all in your head, you're imagining it, you're crazy. To the point where I actually did think a little bit, maybe I'd lost my mind, or maybe I was just imagining all of this stuff. Anyway, so we've had Neo, and this thing's still going on. I still think he's having an affair. He won't admit it, keeps telling me and anybody who will listen that I am in fact crazy. And when Neo was about 8 months old, and we had an argument one day, and I just said to him, I said, I hope whoever she is fucking worth it. And he just went, yeah, she is. And everything just kind of, I remember the world just stopped for a minute, and I was like, oh my God, like, he's finally fucking admitted it. Like, you weren't mental, you were right, he is having an affair. And just, oh my God, all this stuff just came out. And it was honestly one of the most devastating times of my life. Not just because I knew the girl and I was pregnant, but because honestly, I've never felt so ashamed and embarrassed in my life. It turned out that I was the only person who didn't know he was seeing this girl. And the funny thing is, this is not funny, but this is how I ended up discovering Instagram. So now bear in mind, Neo is, God, he's going to be 12 in February. So this is going back like 12 years. Instagram existed, but I didn't know it existed. I didn't know anything of social media. I've never been a social media person, never got on any of those things, but Instagram existed. And I think someone sent me a picture of them on Instagram, and then that's how I discovered Instagram. I got onto this place full of pictures. This is when it was just pictures. And lo and behold, there was all these pictures of them, like over the last few months, like out here, out there, doing this, doing that. And it was just fucking awful. Anyway, so that all happened. But one thing that was very clear in my mind was how much I'd fucked up with Rocco. Now, Rocco didn't end up seeing his dad till he was like 8 years old. And I did not want that fate for any more of my children. At the time, I'd obviously matured a bit. I'm fatherless myself. I know the impact it has to not have a father in your life. And I just thought, I'm not doing that to my kids. Like, fuck what he's done. Fuck the pain. I was like, zip it up and just get on with it. So he was coming to take the children every other weekend. And obviously he was coming with her. Now, it was bad enough. This boy was driving to my house with this fucking girl. But I discovered on Instagram in all that time, she had taken a picture holding my baby. She was holding Neo. He was about 8-9 months at the time. She's holding him, sat in his kitchen. And they posted the picture to Instagram. Now, when I tell you, the world fucking exploded in my mind. I can't even explain what happened. I think I saw black and red and every other fucking colour in between. And that was it. I looked at that picture and I thought, one day I'm going to be so rich that I will buy Instagram and smash it into a fucking wall. That was my plan. I was like, I'm going to be so rich, I'm going to buy that shitty little company and I'm going to I'm going to close it down. I'm going to end it. I'm going to put it in the bin. And I know that sounds wild, but that's where I was. And you know what? I don't know if that's irony. I don't know if that's serendipity. I don't know what it is, the word to describe now this that I do. But I now make my whole income from Instagram. Like, I'm rich because of Instagram. And it's almost just like, it's so fucked up but funny that the way I discovered Instagram was basically through getting my life ruined. So now the point where I'm not going to say I run Instagram, that's ridiculous. I'm such a small fish in a very large pond. But in the grand scheme of things, if anyone's doing good on Instagram, it's not them. And I don't know, sometimes I secretly laugh to myself because I just think, isn't it funny that you didn't know that existed and then it ruined your life and then you wanted to smash it into a wall and now you couldn't even do that because basically it's the reason you are who you are and you are where you are. It's so mad to me, absolutely fucking mad. So that is how I ended. Well, that's actually not how I ended up on Instagram, if I'm perfectly honest with you, but that was how I was introduced to Instagram. That's how I found out all about it. And yeah, it wasn't a very nice introduction, but that's how it was nonetheless. Now, I'm bringing this up because obviously my baby father, he's met a lovely girl. I will say that she's a lovely girl. But the thing was, when he met her, I'd said to him, they'd been seeing each other for quite a while. The kids are going to a house, and I just said, look, I need to meet her. I can't have the kids, going to what is essentially a stranger to me's house. Like, we need to meet each other. Anyway, so I'd said this to him a couple of times, and he didn't bring it up, didn't mention it, didn't suggest a time we could all meet up. Anyway, so Sunday's come. He's supposed to be due to drop the children back. This was months ago. Due to drop the children back. Tell me why I've opened the door looking like the Sunday crackhead I always am on a Sunday. I'm talking no bra, one piece of hair over here, other piece of hair over there, crumbs on my face, barely any clothes on. Open the door. Bear in mind, I don't ever see him. I open the door, the kids come in, that's it, I shut the door, it's done. Tell me why he stood there with his new girlfriend. And her Botox infused face. I was like, what the fuck? And honestly, I think it triggered me. I had a flashback to like when he used to come to my house with that girl, and that was it. I just fucking switched. Kept calm, obviously, because the kids were there, but I shut the door and I went upstairs and got my phone, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? How dare you? Who do you think you are? I'm going to beat you and your little girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Literally regressed 10 fucking years, going absolutely mental. And then, obviously, when I simmered down, I'm like, what is your problem? It's been 12 years. This girl's a really nice girl. All she's trying to do is, like, fucking take care of your kids while dealing with this waste man. Like, what is your fucking problem? And I just thought, you never dealt with that. You had so much to be getting on with. I had a newborn baby and an 18-month-old and a fucking Rockover's like 8. It was just a lot. I had far too much to be dealing with to be able to have a nervous breakdown and actually process everything that had happened. So I just don't think I did. I think I just zipped it up. And for so long, that was such a toxic situation to be in, because I just wanted to beat this girl up. I kept saying, because obviously had a bit of contact. Oh my God, does anyone want to hear a funny story? This may or may not have happened. Okay, I'm going to say it like that because I don't want anybody ever coming back and being able to cause me a problem. But possibly, potentially, when this all happened, I ended up getting the girl's phone number. And lo and behold, she, I don't know, I think I spoke with her a couple of times and she was just being a bitch. And in amongst all of that, somebody, maybe me, maybe somebody else, but somebody got both of their phone numbers and put them on dating websites. She had gone on Plenty of Fish. He had gone on whatever the gay website was at that time. And I put her shop number on there. Me, maybe somebody else. But the shop number was on there. And so she just had loads of men calling her because I'd put on the thing. Fuck it. Do you know what? I did this. I don't even care. Say something. Do something about it. Still to this day, I will break that girl's neck. If I see her, I will kill her. Like, and this is just proving that I haven't healed anything or got over anything. But the principle, yeah? Some things don't ever leave your mind. Some things are never going to be okay. So if I see her, I'm going to wrap her long stinking hair around her neck and I'm going to kill her. Anyway, so I did this. I put his number on a gay website. So he's got all these gay men phoning him for bum sex. And I put her shop number and her mobile number on, it was Plenty of Fish. And so she had man after man after man after man calling her, saying all this disgusting stuff to the point. I think it drove them insane. I think that is honestly one of the cleverest things I've ever done in my life. And this was way back when like this I don't know, this was very clever for when I was doing it. If that even makes any sense. Sorry, I shouldn't brag, but I don't even care. You know when you're like in a corner and you've got nothing, like you've got nothing to like fight back. Like this was my fight back, and it wasn't the greatest, but it was, you know, at the time did the flipping job. Anyway, so there was just a lot of drama going on, and I must have told Gary to bring her. I'm like, bring her. I'm gonna bruck her up. Bring her. Let me kill her. She would never once come anywhere near me. But he would drive to my house with like in her fucking car and pick the kids up and drop them off. And I think when he brought that poor girl, his new girlfriend, to my house, I flashed back. I got majorly triggered, and that was it. I'm like, no, I'm gonna fucking kill her. Kill her for why? She's not even done anything. Like it was just, I don't know, it was insane. And then if you remember back to when, sorry, I've got to plug the laptop in. If you remember back to when I first started the podcast, and I was saying that I was telling you all about what was going on with the colonoscopy and like the issues I was having. My doctor's is still back where I used to live, which is very close to this woman's shop. Now I'm not going to tell you her shop because there might be a few of you that hate me and you want to go and get a tattoo from this whore. I'm not helping her make any money, but just know she's got one shit fucking shop in Sutton. And I had to drive past it when I was going to the doctor's. And I tell you, the rage that came from nowhere over me. I'm like, fuck the doctor's, drive through the front of the shop and run her over. Like the crazy things that were going through my head, like, and the rage. And I'm just like, oh my God, like how is this still a bother to you? And I thought, because you never really let it bother you when it happened. I had no time to let it bother me. I was just busy trying to fucking... That was a very bad time in my life. That day when I found out, when Neo was 8 months, my breast milk, because I was breastfeeding, dried up within 24 hours. Don't let anyone ever tell you stress isn't a fucking thing, because stress affects everybody differently, but it can really just fuck up your whole life. And that stressed me out so much. Like I said, within 24 hours, my breast milk had dried up. And that's where all the rage came from. That's where, fuck the violation, fuck the embarrassment, fuck all of that. The fact that I can't feed my child now because of you. Honestly, still to this day, why I would kill that woman with my bare hands, walk myself to HMP and say, what? Fucking take me in, feed me every day. I don't even give a fuck. Oh, God, honestly. We're working on the healing, as you can tell. But yeah, I just clearly never really got over that. And I guess, I mean, why would you? You think you're going to have a fucking life with someone and then this whore comes and fucks it up. And I remember speaking to her once. I'm like, what? Why would you do that? Oh, he's coming to me telling me his problems. This is how we get close. If a man comes to you and tell you he's got problems, you say, I'm really sorry about that. But you send it back home, especially if you know he's got a baby and a pregnant woman. What kind of woman actually sees that situation and thinks, yeah, I want to be with that man, especially when he's broke, so broke. Why would you even want to do that? I hate women like that. And do you know what? I've always just, I am the woman that I think people should be. Like, I act how I want people to treat me, all right? And a little while ago, I was seeing someone a couple of years ago, absolutely lovely guy. And honestly, the only reason we parted ways is because he wanted children and I didn't. And I ended up seeing him, like, I don't know, a good while after we'd broken up, and he was with a really pregnant lady. And I was honestly so happy for him. It was all he wanted, and honestly, it's all he deserved. But I ended up speaking to him just before Christmas, and he wanted to see me. And I was like, that's not a good idea. Like, you've just had a baby. Obviously, your woman has just been through a car crash. Like, she is not going to be operating from the same place she was when you met her. And she's going to be probably feeling all sorts of not okay. And I was like, you shouldn't be talking to me. You should not be talking to me. And he's like, yeah, I know, but you know, you're not just anybody issue. I'm like, it doesn't matter. How do you think she's going to feel? And I said, and you're not going to, I said, what's going to be the result? Well, you end up with me and then what, end up regretting it? Because I tell you right now, all my baby fathers do, both of them, is cry about how they fucked it up with me. And I don't say that from a braggy place. Like, it's actually really sad. But they've both fucked up such a good thing with a good woman. That's their regret. That's what they're going to spend the rest of and they do spend the rest of their life being sad about that. I said, don't do that to yourself. Don't. The grass ain't greener. It really is not. And I basically gave him some counselling and sent him back to his wife, because I'm not going to be that woman that is a home wrecker. Like, I don't care. And this is someone who's lonely. I've been by myself for a long time. My prospects of finding a man are slim, to say the least. Like, but just because that is your only option doesn't mean you should take it. Be patient, man. Like, the universe has something better for you. And I tell you what, people who do things like that, they don't have a good life. She has not had a good life. I always say anyone who ever fucks with me, like, lives to regret it for the rest of their life, and they really do. But her, honestly, the one thing I was afraid of when that all happened, it's funny as well, because this time in my life actually proved to me how much of a powerful witch I am. But when that all happened, honestly, the main thing I was worried about was her breeding for him. I was like, she cannot get pregnant. I will not be related to this whole. I was adamant she would never get pregnant. And I will never forget that day, because I was so insane with rage. Like, I just remember closing my eyes, and I remember I visualized her, and I floated into her fucking body, through her mouth, went down, found her fallopian tubes, and just tied them up. I just tied them up tight, tied them up. And I said, she's never gonna breed, and she didn't. And do you know what the crazy thing was? Years and years after they broke up, I remembered this thing where I tied her fallopian tubes. And I thought, God, you better untie them. Like, so I did ask the universe to, like, untie them or whatever. And then I shit you not, I found out she was pregnant a few months later by, hear this, hilarious, by some fucking roofer guy that I know. And it's a funny story, but I've never had a threesome, but this was probably the closest I got. Me and my best friend, we'd gone out one night and we bumped into him, and we both ended up snogging him. Anyway, so this is the guy she ended up breeding for, one fucking roofer from, let me not say where, but yeah, she's had a baby for him. And then my friend see her a couple of months ago and said she's grey. She's like completely grey and looks absolutely fucked. And I just thought, well, that's what you get for home wrecking, you whore. Anyway, this isn't the most positive podcast, but I literally told my friend this story the other day, and they was like, wow, you have to do a podcast about that. So this is about that, really. Where are we at now? We're all right. We're in a good place. If you remember a couple of podcasts back, I was talking about my children having some issues with my baby father's new stepchildren, essentially. So, but apart from that, like, I do feel better in the sense I've understood that this woman is not that woman. She is not a home wrecker. She is a lovely woman who, for whatever reason, finds my baby father to be attractive. But that would probably be her only flaw. Like, she's not done anything bad, she's not done anything wrong, and I've had to stop that thing in my mind where I am associating her with the home wrecking whore. They're not the same fucking people. So much time has passed, it's just, yeah, it's not fair to even put that on her. But it did just make me realise, boy, you never really dealt with that. And again, like I said, like, how is one even supposed to deal with that? Maybe I won't even deal with that until I actually get to see her and punch her. Like, that's honestly, like, sometimes you just need to punch someone to feel better. And I know that's not very fucking grown up, demure, mindful, mature, but I don't care. I've never claimed to be demure, mindful, or mature. Like, I'm none of those things. I really am not. But I don't know when I'm ever, or if I'm ever gonna feel better about knowing me. I'd probably go and beat her up, and then I'd feel bad. I'd feel bad. Like, I know what I'm like. So maybe there's not even any point in that. But I am yet to make peace with that situation. However, I am trying, and I am hoping by doing this podcast, it's helped to maybe just shift. You know, sometimes you just have to get this better out than in. In fact, it's really funny. I remember when all this happens, where I used to live, there was like a pond behind my house. And I went there and I got this big stone, and I just asked the stone, I was like, just take all this hurt, take all this pain, like, and and I chucked it in the thing. I was like, 'cause I cannot carry this around. It was actually driving me insane. I felt balls to the wall fucking mental. And I thought, you can't raise kids. You can't be a functioning human. Look, my breast milk had dried up. Like, it was just too much. So I remember I said to the stone, like, please just take all of this hurt, pain, rage, anger, everything, and keep it. And I lobbed it in that pond. And it's almost like that's where it stayed. Now, I don't know who the fuck dug that stone up, but of late, this has been crossing my mind. Like I said, I think it's because maybe I had to drive past there. I mean, out of sight, out of mind. Why would I even give this a second thought? And what I will say is, as much as I still would batter her if I saw her, afterwards I'd pick her up off the ground, wipe the blood off her face, and then I'd be like, babes, thank you actually. Because I never wanted to be, I was never meant to be with him. That man stifled me. He made me small. And ever since like breaking up with him, I have just grown and grown and grown and grown and grown and flourished and got better. And honestly, I don't think I would have done that if I was with him. So I guess everything is relative. So this is a fuck you and I thank you, I guess, to, I'm not going to say her name. Starts with a C, sounds like Barlet. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for listening. I know this hasn't been my normal podcast. Maybe we'll do a few other story times. Let me know. Leave me a comment. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever had a home wrecking whore try and fuck up your life and 12 years later you still want to batter her? Let me know. How are you dealing with that? Me taking all advice. Anyway, I'm going to go, but I love you all so much. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back next week. I love you all. Mwah.